Hello and welcome to or back to my library. Today we're going over all the books that I'm hoping to read in March. Now I have been saying for the last couple of months that this year I wanted to prioritize mood reading a little bit more and not have quite as structured of a TBR. However, I don't think that's working very well for me. I'm finding I'm getting through my actual structured TBR first, and then for all of my mood reading, I have to go and pick something off of my Storygraph TBR, which is very overwhelming because there are just about 1,000 books on there. So I'm actually having a really hard time deciding what I'm in the mood for because there are just too many options. So I think I'm gonna go back to making super long TBRs that are not reasonable to actually read it in 1 month. That way I have a much smaller list of things to pick from that I might be in the mood for throughout the month, rather than having to go to Storygraph and go to my entire almost 1,000 book long TBR. So we're going back to that. It was a good little mini experiment, but I think I actually do better with a more structured TBR. So with that said, let's get into the books that I want to read this month, starting with, as always, my book clubs and challenges. For Cozy Quill Book Club, I've already read the March pick for this one. It's not one that I'm planning on rereading, so I have nothing for that one. And then for the in-person book club that I'm part of, we're reading Overgrowth by Mira, which I'm so excited about. I love Mira / Shauna Maguire. She's one of my favorite authors of all time, and I've really wanted to get more into her sci-fi horror stuff, so I am very excited for this one. I don't actually know what it's about, I'm not gonna lie. I added it to my TBR long before it was released just because I saw the name and knew that I wanted to read it, but the actual plot, no idea. So let's find out. Ooh, okay, it's a body horror alien invasion apocalypse. That sounds cool as fuck. And the tagline for this one is, "What happens when you know what's coming and just refuse to listen." That sounds really cool. I just read the synopsis on Storygraph. It sounds really, really interesting. It's about the main character who's been saying since she was 3 years old that she's actually an alien who's disguised as a human being, and the aliens are coming back for her, but of course no one believes her until the aliens actually arrive. So that sounds really cool. I'm looking forward to this one. For the buzzword challenges this month, I'm trying to use one book to fill both of the regular buzzword plus the covers challenge, and I have 2 picks for buzzword. So the regular buzzword challenge is to have the words this or that in the title, and the covers challenge is to have some kind of action on the cover. So my 2 choices are either This Princess Kills Monsters by Herman, which has the word this in it, and then on the cover it has the main character pointing a sword at some dragons, so there's some action on there. I don't know much about this one. It was recommended to me by a friend. I love the cover and it sounds really fun as well. It's a satirical retelling of The 12 Huntsmen. I've been really enjoying the kind of more comedic fantasy books that have been coming out lately. Things like the Django Wexler books, what's it called? How to Become the Dark Lord and Die Trying. Books like those I actually quite enjoy. I love that kind of humor in it. It's very sarcastic and dry, and that seems like what this is going to be, so fingers crossed that is the case. But I'm either going to go with that one or Been There, Done That, A Rousing History of Sex by Rachel Feltman. It's got the word that in the title, and the cover definitely has some action going on, so I think that should count. This one says it's a rollicking, myth-busting history of sex that moves from historical attempts at birth control to Hildegard von Bingen's treatise on the female orgasm, demystifying plenty of urban legends along the way. That sounds really fun to me and very interesting. It's also been on my TBR for quite a few years now, so it'd be good to get an older one off of my TBR. So I'm not too sure which one of those I'll pick yet, but it'll be one of them at least. And then it's time for Catch-Up Book Club again, which means we are reading The Hunger of the Gods by John Gwynne, which is the sequel to The Shadow of the Gods. I read that book in January and absolutely adored it. It was incredible, and I've been desperately waiting for the time to read book 2, and it's finally here. This one is going to be read between March and April, so I might get to it this month. It might be next month, but either way, it'll be very soon. It'll probably be this month because I've been desperate to get to it, so it'll most likely be sooner than later. But this one is a Norse-inspired Viking fantasy that follows a whole cast of characters, very epic fantasy, very dark and violent, and the first book ended with a fucking bang. So I can't wait to see where book 2 goes. Now, while I'm no longer doing Backlist Bash, the series that I was doing last year where I was reading the oldest books on my TBR, I do still want to prioritize my backlisted books. So I have Backlist Berry here, which has every single book that was added to my TBR in 2021, and every month I pick at least one out of here. So let's do that right now. What is Barry gonna give us this month? Oh, I have so many in here. I need to switch these to better paper that's not so tiny. All right. I'll try and let you guys see it first if it wants to focus. Can you see it? I have no idea. Fingers crossed again. Ooh, The Midnight Girls. Okay. Fully forget what that one's about, but I know that it's one that I was very much looking forward to at one point or another. Yes, this one. Oh my god, I was so hyped for this book when it was coming out. It was on my most anticipated books of that year. I was so looking forward to it. And then I just never read it, and now it's been like 5 years. And I do fear that this is going to be one of those books that I probably won't like now because it is YA, and I really don't read a lot of YA anymore. And the ones that I do read, while I might enjoy them, they are typically like a 3.5 star max. So this may be too late for me, but I'll still give it a shot. I fully forget everything to do with the plot of this one, but I know that it is sapphic. Ooh, and it's a rivals romance as well. That's fun. And it has wintry balls, glittery disguises, and nightly torchlit sleigh parties. That sounds fun. One of my goals this year is to read more nonfiction. I want to read at least 12 this year, so ideally once a month. And this month I'm hoping to go with Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. This one's been on my TBR, I think, also since 2021, so another backlist. Love that for me. And I've also owned it for far too many years. It's been just sitting on my shelf waiting for me to come grab it. I know that I'm going to love this book. I've read a couple other things from this author, and they are both phenomenal, and I've heard nothing but amazing things about this book in particular, so I think I am also going to love this one. And this one is about indigenous wisdom, scientific knowledge, and the teachings of plants. I also want to read more translated books this year. I think my goal was 12? Or what was it, 6? One of the two. Either way, I'm planning on picking ideally one per month. So for this month, I am hoping to get to Horsefly by this person's name, who is French, and I have no idea how to pronounce that, so I'm just gonna move on. This one is a horror novella that was translated from French. It's a French-Canadian novel. I don't know much about the actual plot of it, aside from the fact that it is about biochemically engineered horseflies that are used as warfare, which sounds horrifying. I've been reading a lot of bug horror lately, which is not normally my jam. I normally cannot handle bugs, but for some reason it's calling to me right now, so that's what we're doing. I bought this one from my favorite indie bookstore in my area semi-recently. I think that was like the middle of last year, roughly, so it's been on my shelf for not a crazy long time, but longer than I wanted to, because I did pay full price for this book, which I don't normally do, but gotta support the indie bookstores once in a while. But the fact that I paid full price for it and I have not read it yet, I'm kind of mad about, so hopefully I'll get to this one very soon. I want to read more intimidating books this year, which include books that are either really long or very dense, heavy fantasy or sci-fi, and I'll be using The Hunger of the Gods to fill this challenge this month. I also have a goal to try and finish off all of the series that I started prior to this year, of which I currently have, I think, like 13 series left, I want to say. Somewhere around there. So while I have plans to read multiple sequels this month, the one that I have written down to fill this goal for this month is Cytonic by Brandon Sanderson, which is the third book in the Skyward series. I read book 2 in February and quite enjoyed it, so I do want to carry on with the series before I forget some of the details. This one is a YA sci-fi series that is so much fun. I liked the first book, but book 2 was even better for me. It was so my kind of sci-fi, and I have absolutely no idea where book 3 is going to go, but I'm not going to look into the synopsis. I'm going to go into it fairly blind and hope for the best with that one. And then my final reading goal for this month is to read more books off my actual shelves, which I don't do nearly often enough. And while I do have a couple of other books that are already on my TBR that fit that, I wanted to pick one that is dedicated just to that goal. And I'm going to be going with, hopefully, Oath of Legacy by Emily Skrutskie, which also fits in with a sequel as well. This is book 2 in the Bloodright trilogy. I read the first book probably about a year ago and really enjoyed it, but just haven't gotten around to continuing on with the series yet, so I really need to do that. I've also been in a huge sci-fi mood lately, so I would like to get to this one, especially because I am starting to forget some of the details of book 1 and I don't want to have to reread it. As much as I enjoyed that book, I don't really like rereading a whole lot, so ideally I should finish the series before I forget things about it. I have a couple of arcs that I have through NetGalley right now. The first one being Shy Girl by Mia Ballard, which is a horror novel that has to do with kink and female rage, and I'm really looking forward to it. It comes out in, I believe, April, so I'll definitely be reading it in March, and I'm so hyped for it. I have the audiobook for it, and it sounds like it's going to be right up my alley. And then I also weirdly got an audiobook arc of Bochia by Karelia Florez, and I have no idea why, because this book came out in 2025. So I don't know why I was just approved for an arc in 2026, a full year after the book has come out, but I'm not going to complain about it. This one is a historical horror novel about a haunted house, and that is so my jam. It takes place in an opulent mansion in Colombia, and apparently is quite disturbing, so sounds like it's going to be right up my alley. It doesn't have great reviews, but fingers crossed I'm one of the ones who love it. I have a whole bunch of content that I want to film this month because I really want to get more into doing more themed reading vlogs. I've done a few of them here and there, and I always really enjoy doing them, but because they're really time consuming, I don't do them nearly as often as I want to, but I do want to get more into them. So I think I just need to start adding the books for those projects onto my structured TBR, and then maybe I'll actually get to them. So the one vlog project that I've been working on for so long is retrying books that I previously DNF'd. I've been working on this since October. It's now almost March. So I just really need to get this TBR done. So far I've read 3 books for that video, and I was aiming for 5 or 6, so I'm going to pick 3 books for that, but might just do 2 of them right now. So first up is The Space Between Worlds by Michaiah Johnson, which is a queer sci-fi with multiverse stuff. The synopsis for this book sounds so cool and like it's definitely my kind of book, but when I tried it the first time, I only had the ebook for it, and I think I would do better with the audiobook for it, so I'm going to retry that one over audio, hopefully, if I have access to it. And then same thing for Can't Spell Treason Without T by Rebecca Thorne. I only had access to the ebook at the time, so I would like to try it again with the audiobook and see if that's better. This one is a cozy sapphic fantasy, and again, the synopsis sounds like it is totally my kind of thing. It's very much like Legends and Lattes kind of idea, which I love, and I almost always love those books when I read them, but this one just really wasn't grabbing my attention, and I think it was because I just prefer those kinds of books over audio. So fingers crossed I end up liking it on the second try. And then finally for this vlog, I have one more book that I might be adding to it for this month. It might be later on, but I am hoping to reattempt Red Rising by Peirce Brown. This was my very first attempt at an adult sci-fi, and that was a poor choice on my part. I was absolutely not ready for this kind of book at the time, but now I read almost entirely adult books, so I think I might have a better shot of liking it. I've heard nothing but incredible things about this entire series, so I desperately want to like it. I am quite intimidated by this book though. I think just because of the hype around it, it kind of scares me a bit, and I am scared of what my friends will say if I don't like this book. They might disown me if I hate it. This one might happen this month, might not, but it's at least tentatively on the TBR for this month. And then I have another like smaller vlog project that I've been wanting to do for years, which is to read these 2 romance books that have been on my TBR since like 2021, where in both of them the main characters work at an adult toy store, and I thought that it would be really fun for me to do that because I worked at one for 7 years. I just recently left that job like a month and a half ago. I've been wanting to do this vlog for years, and now that I'm no longer working there is when I'm finally going to get around to it, but it's fine. So those 2 books are Happy Endings by Thien-Kim and Satisfaction Guaranteed by Karelia Stetz-Waters, maybe is how you pronounce that name. And then I took a look at my story graph and I jotted down a couple books that I think I might be in the mood for this month, just to kind of give me some more options. First of all, a couple of extra sequels that I'd like to get to. Ascension by ST Gibson. This one was on my February TBR, but I just didn't have the time to get to it, but I am still quite in the mood for it. I've been eyeing it for the last week or so, so maybe March will be the time that I finally get to it. This is the sequel to Evocation, which I read very shortly after it came out and quite enjoyed it. It wasn't my favorite book by this author, but I did still really like it, and I am looking forward to getting to the sequel hopefully this month. We'll see what happens. And then Wings of Shadow by Nikki Palpreto. This is the 3rd and final book in the Crown of Feathers series, so reading this book would finish out a series for me, which is what I want to do. However, I'm not really in the mood for this book right now, but I do have the audiobook out from Libby, and there is a bit of a line for it, so like if I don't read it right now, I might have to wait quite a while again. It's like I want to because I want to check off a series, but I'm just not really in the mood for it, so I don't know what I'll do. Maybe I'll be in the mood for it at some point in the next like 2 weeks that I have the audiobook out, but we'll figure it out later on. And then for 2 more sequels that I am trying to resist reading because I want to savor this series, but I doubt that I'll have the restraint to do so, but I will far more than likely be getting to Role Model and The Long Game by Rachel Reid, which are books 5 and 6 in the Heated Rivalry series. I know the series is called Game Changers, but I usually just call it Heated Rivalry because of the TV show, so. But yeah, I've been desperately wanting to get to book 6 because that is Shane and Ilya's book again. They were book 2 and book 6, and I have been so badly wanting to just skip ahead and read book 6, but I'm making myself read them in order, and I just have one more book to to read, which is Role Model, before I can read their book again. So most likely these two are going to get read this month. And then I'm kind of in the mood for queer historical romance right now. So I was looking through my Storygraph TBR and I saw The Absinthe Underground by Jamie Pacton, which has been on my TBR for a couple of years, and I just keep not reaching for it, but it's kind of calling to me right now, so I might go with this one. And it says it's Moulin Rouge meets Holly Black in a thrilling, sapphic friends to lovers romantasy, which sounds like exactly what I want. And then finally for this TBR, I keep seeing When the Tides Held the Moon by Vanessa Vita Kelly all over the internet, and I so desperately want to read this book. It sounds incredible. It's queer historical fantasy romance set in 1910s New York, and it's a romance with a merman. This sounds like it's so my kind of book. The cover is beautiful, and I've heard people just absolutely raving about it. So if I can get my hands on a copy through the library, I will absolutely be picking this one up at long last. I'm so excited about it. But those are all the books that I have on my March TBR. As mentioned earlier, this is a bit of a longer one, so I doubt that all of these books will get read, and knowing me, I'll probably throw in some randoms here and there as well. But I am very much looking forward to all the books that I talked about today. Let me know down in the comments what you're planning on reading in March, or if you've read any of the ones that I'm planning on reading. Let me know your thoughts as well. I would love to hear them. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a fantastic day wherever you are in the world, and I'll catch you in the next video.